that we should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints. And we mentioned in our prayers this morning about the 11 that were murdered in Jewish, by the way, and several wounded, including the 4 policemen were wounded. They got a very, very difficult time, and it's kind of amazing. We're going to look at that in just a second, or ask a question on it in just a second. But the police arrived within about 4 minutes of the beginning of the shooting. Now, I'm going to guess that the Highland County Sheriff's Office probably could not get out here in 4 minutes. Probably several minutes longer than that. So there is some things that we might do, and we say it won't happen to us. Well, I'm assured that virtually every single person that was in that building had no thoughts that it would happen to them. Right. Yeah. So, these things happen, and we might be above the threshold of it happening because of the radio ministry, and I'm not suggesting Pastor tone anything down. I'm not suggesting that at all, but because of that, we might be a little bit more susceptible. Now, I'm just going to throw one thing out. The pastor didn't tell me to say this, and he may disagree, and you may disagree. And my thought is, if something would happen and somebody would scream, then somebody's got a shooter, or somebody's got a gun back there or something. My suggestion would be every person go down to the floor and nestle yourself the best you could underneath the pew. And, if you're sitting right next to the door, you may go and leave the door. But it's imperative that you do it immediately. It's not something that you'd want to wait on. Now, there are some people who have concealed carry within this church. I can't tell you who they all are, or if there is anybody this morning, but there are persons so we might have a chance to protect ourselves, but it's going to be something that's going to be it's going to go down 1, 2, 3, and it's not going to be a lot of time to think about it. So we might do a little preparation. Now, the question I want to ask is, and I'm certainly opening this up, why are the Jews still singled out for violence? Why are the Jews, this man that did this, I don't know that he had any ties with, I have no clue why he did it, but one thing he did say was death to all Jews. Kill all the Jews or something to that effect. Now, there's a tremendous movement in the world today, movement of roughly 1.3 or 1.4 billion people who are adamant with the destruction of the Jews. And the second group of people that they're adamant against is the United States of America. Well, we might say Christians first, but then the United States of America. So, as Jude says, we need to contend for the faith because it's rapidly declining. But I'll ask the question again. I kept on talking. Why are the Jews singled out for violence today? Sarah?
Aren't they the chosen people?
God chose them, yes, and that's certainly that maybe not. Well, it is technically the right answer, I think, but there's more to it than that, but you've answered correctly. Anybody like to go any farther than that? Who is the number one being that is against God?
Right.
Satan. These things have to be from Satan. I mean, God's chosen people, he's against God, he's against his chosen people, he's against the the two most would be the Jewish persons, and Christians are more apt to be persecuted than any other group in the world. Why? Christians would be God's people of today that have chosen him. And of course, God chose the Jews. So I think we're in a tremendous battle. And it's a spiritual battle. It's not just something that, we can, theoretical. It's happening. The group of people who have had more terrorist attacks in the world is the Jewish people. And here's the amazing thing. If they would clear out all of California and move all the Jews in the world into California, guess what? They wouldn't overpopulate it. There's only maybe 30, 35 million. That's a minute, that's only 10% of the population of the United States, probably less than 10%. So the Jews are attacked by Satan today, and he's attacking Christianity, and no doubt he's attacking this church. So we've got to do what we can. The rest will be in God's hands, obviously. But so that's one thing that we might think about. Now, great news in the United States of America. I don't know, you folks probably watch a little more news than I do. I watch news, but I sleep through some of it. There was, 10, 15, 16 pipe bombs that were sent out. Can anybody verify that number?
It was 14.
14, okay, 14 bombs. Now they were sent out to people who are, ironically, ones who are calling for violence, believe it or not. Maxine Waters. Hey, if there's somebody that likes Trump, get in their face. If they're in a restaurant, don't let them eat. Make it difficult for them. Eric Holder. We talk about, if they're down, lifting up. He says if you're down, chicken. Nancy Pelosi. Well, I won't say too much about her. Hillary. Is it George Soros? CNN. Robert De Niro, who's been an outlet, he's a movie star. My suggestion is at this point, I'd never go to see a movie, because I haven't been to very many movies. But he's been outspoken. And so, what has happened in America? That's a question I'd like anybody that would feel like answering that. What has happened in America? And here, I'm going to say something. I'm against sending out pipe bombs, even to those who I disagree with. That's not the American way. That's not the way that we should go. I'm absolutely against that. Even though I'm not a fan of these persons, I would certainly, whoever sent them out should be punished. And I know this sounds harsh, and I'll be criticized maybe by this, but this was a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And I would say that terrorist attacks should be met with the maximum sentence that you can do, which would be the execution. That's my opinion. That's not anybody. That's not. I'll say a disclaimer. It's not necessarily the views of the pastor.
It is a view of mine.
Yeah. So why has this taken place in America? These types of things have taken place in America.
Run God out, brother.
Well, you got that right. Isn't it amazing that things have deteriorated the farther we throw God out? You know, we can't have the Ten Commandments in any public place, even though historically it is a public document, if you would, or a declaration. So we're in a real major problem once we threw God out. And you know, they're carrying it through to ends that just unbelievable. So I think you're right there. So we're in a battle with Satan. We're in a battle with even our own government by them declaring that God is of no value. And look where it has gotten us.
Down, down, down.
Boy, that's for sure. We have gone down when we legalize abortion and we pay for it with tax dollars. That's saying that the government is for it, no matter what they say. Every president has come along that has been elected that was anti-abortion. You know, nothing has changed. So, you know, our total government is in a real mess. So, when we throw God out, guess what? Things go downhill, as you had said. Now, another thing that's in the news here this week, it's been in the news for several weeks, and you know what? There is an army that is preparing to invade the United States of America. Now, it's only a small army, maybe someplace from 3,000 to 14,000 people at the present time. That's small people, a small number. But guess what? It's actually an invasion of the United States of America.
Yeah.
And the freedoms and the advantages that we have if this continues. Not only that, but there's another army prepping themselves down in Honduras or Guatemala or one of those places. Now, even now, another army is coming. What does that do? Well, first thing, it financially is a tremendous burden, no matter what anybody wants to say. Many schools nowadays, a teacher in Arizona, Texas, some of the places, Florida, other places, cannot get a job because they don't speak Spanish. We're in a battle.
Yeah.
Things are not good. I saw a And it was amazing. Maybe some of you folks saw the same thing, but you saw a road lined up with tents and garbage and trash. And I thought, boy, I wouldn't want to live like that. But it wasn't in Guatemala. It was in California.
Yeah.
You think they will not take America down internally? Who's behind this? Well, when you talk about ISIS, that's the people who are in charge of immigrants or illegal immigrants or whatever. And if you have open borders where you say anybody can come in, things are bad. And that's a sure way to destroy America without maybe even firing a shot. Well, it's we have some other situations. We read about this, hear about this, see signs of it every day, but we got a tremendous drug problem coming in. I don't know if you folks read the papers or not, but probably every week they put in the indictments by the grand jury or whatever that are going to go to trial or maybe have gone to trial, and maybe there'll be 20 or so in there. Maybe not that many every time, but probably at least half. And I haven't taken account or kept track of it, but probably half to 2/3 would be drug related. And, my theory is this, that, hey, that's a tremendous number of crime associated with the drugs. Guess what? We can solve the crime problem by changing the law that it's okay to use whatever drugs you want to use. And that's basically what is taking place now. We're wanting to change, and we are. Hey, folks, the Chinese proverbs of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Well, the first step that we've done is we said, well, there may be some value to it, but I guarantee you there's some problems associated. Well, just for health purposes, we'll legalize marijuana. It's rather amazing that the second step is you can use recreational marijuana. It's our neighbor to the north, Canada, legalized recreational, and in the first 2 days, virtually every store in the country that had marijuana in it was sold out. Another statistics that nobody likes to hear, but 95% of those persons that start on marijuana proceed to something, a drug more potent. So we're certainly opening ourselves up to that within America. Colorado was one of the first ones that recreational drugs and traffic accidents and traffic deaths has increased because of we're not allowed to drive drunk, but so there's still people that get out there and drive drunk. Not supposed to drive under the influence of marijuana, but guess what? They still do it. Of course, another thing, and I'm not been in this situation, but if somebody is using, I guess, is it opium or heroin? I don't know which one, but Narcan can stop the reaction, but it only lasts for like 20 minutes. So if they're in a bad reaction, they may have to give them 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and I don't know how many doses they might give them to save them. Now, I know I'm probably not too politically correct, but where does it end? Is the number of people dying when they don't have it basically the same as before? Not too much difference. Now you might say, well, if we just say 1 or 2, that's a blessing. And obviously, if it was my child, I would say the same thing, probably. But it's a very expensive thing, and I think, I may be wrong, I think the United States of America will collapse financially.
Yeah.
It cannot go on.
Right.
And while I agreed with many of President Trump's things, one thing, he hasn't reined in spending. Why? Everybody wants to have their hand in the pig trough, so to speak. And you know what? Another way they're attempting to handle the situation is through give clean needles to everyone. You know what that's saying?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right.
Just be safe. Now I'm going to give you 2 studies, or now not specifically 2 studies, but general studies that have been done. The more trying to say it in a nice way, but the more protection against sexual intercourse and so forth, it does 2 things happen. There are more pregnancies. Why is that? Well, because everybody thinks it's okay. That's one.
That's right.
And secondly, there's more disease.
Yeah.
So the more they give, the worse the problem gets. When we treat symptoms, if I have a broken foot, a broken ankle, or something to that effect, and it really hurts, and the way they treat that, I go to the doctor and he says, does it hurt? And I say, yes. It's very hard to put pressure on it. And they say, well, let me shoot it up with some, or let me give you some pills, and you won't feel the pain. That's not treating the problem.
That's right.
So with the higher rate of protection that is supposedly given, results in higher pregnancy, higher health problems, diseases. Another study has been done and been proven, but you never hear of these studies, is that when gun control, when guns are freely available, you can have concealed carry, you can have open carry, and so forth. The crime, more guns, crime goes down. Wow, that's kind of strange. Then, secondly, when you have the highest gun control, illegal to have guns, illegal to have handguns, illegal to have this and that, the crime goes up.
Yep.
Now, how in the world can that be taken? How can that take place? Well, it's simple. The crooks, or the bad guys, so to speak, know that they don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Hey, Chicago, Washington, D.C., for instance, Detroit have tremendous, Baltimore have tremendous gun control,
Yeah.
and yet they have some of the highest rates of murder rates and shooting rates in the country.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we've gotten away, and obviously Clifford mentioned it, and it applies to each of these things, you know, we've gotten away from God's advice, God's way. And when we get away from that, guess what? Things go bad. I'm telling you, it goes bad in my life, goes bad in the life of the country, when we get away from God's ways and do it my way. I'm going to guarantee you my way is never the best way. Never a good way if it's contrary to God's way. So I just thought that we ought to keep in mind that we need to earnestly contend for the faith which was once given unto the saints, because we are in a battle. Jude, little book of Jude, great book. All God's books are great books, but this is a great one for us today. And so we are urged, because we may not have very much time. And for, we got a couple of young persons up here, and there's some young people downstairs, and without God's help, they're going to see some troubled times. I'm not even going to say that. I'm seeing troubled times that I cannot imagine that have taken place in my lifetime. To say that we'd have same-sex marriages, well, that's anti-God.
Amen.
It's anti-God even if they don't get married. I don't know the percentage, but I would bet anything 2 women marry and they adopt a little girl, that little girl is going to turn out to be a lesbian.
That's right. Yep.
And you have 2 men that adopt a little boy,
Yeah.
he's going to turn out to be a homosexual.
Yes.
Now, we're turning our country into Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's right.
Can you imagine transgender situations? I've told this story before, the incident. In fact, I think 2 years in a row, a boy in Texas wanted to wrestle on felt like he was I don't know what he thinks he is. I would say that he was a liar.
Yes.
and the truth was not in him, but he wrestled as a girl with the girls, and he won the state champion.
Yep.
Already, there is a movement because some of the athletic realize this is crazy.
Right.
You know, these people that are filling in is crazy. Okay, the young people are coming up, and that was just a preliminary. So I've got my lesson for 2 weeks from now. I'll come back with the lesson. I'll try to stay off of. Yeah, and